Hello and welcome to the highlights of the $1 million Magnus Carlsen Chess Tour Finals. Well, the tour that began in April now has reached its final leg. This particular tournament offers 300,000 USD. Never before in the history of online chess have we seen so much of money on offer. But Magnus Carlsen won 3 out of 4 to take his spot in this finale. And then you had Daniel Dubov of Russia, the only other winner on the tour. So that left 2 other vacant spots that went to the highest point earners from the tour, Hikaru Nakamura and Ding Liren. Now, all these players have a reputation of playing chess at a speed which actually entitles them to be there, because this particular format, this particular tournament, in fact the whole tour is actually based on shorter time formats, and these 4 individuals have proved that they can think faster, they can play faster and play some exceptional chess to beat the field and to be here. Now, Magnus Carlsen, for instance, as I said, won 3 tournaments, and he is entering this tournament with a 19-match unbeaten streak. You have Hikaru Nakamura, who is well rested because he didn't play the last tournament. Now, he is supposed to be the speed king in chess today. He is currently ranked number 1 in Blitz ratings, so he'll be a handful to anybody who faces him. And then you have Daniel Dubov. Now, this young Russian who beat Nakamura in the final to win his only title on the tour is considered one young Turk who's going to really make it count as we go along. Though his credentials in the classical time format is still not that great, but give this kind of a format where you have 15 minutes and 10-second increment or even shorter. And this guy has proved that look, I can match wits with anybody, and of course he has victories over Magnus Carlsen this year, so he's not to be taken lightly. And then you have Ding Liren, someone who's known to play very correct chess. He wasn't known to be playing at very fast pace, but in the last couple of years we've seen that even in speed chess he is second to none. And of course his biggest success in speed chess was in the Sinkfield final, where he beat Magnus Carlsen in the playoff, which was again in the shorter time format. So, and the same Ding Liren, when he came to India this was last November, and in Calcutta he beat Magnus Carlsen 2 out of 2 in speed chess. So very difficult to pick the favorites here, even though a lot of people are going to say that Magnus Carlsen begins as a favorite against Ding Liren, yes, without doubt. And also Nakamura's experience makes him the favorite against the youngster from Russia, Daniel Dubov. But the difference between the players is so less that it's difficult to pick an outright winner. So though you do have pre-match favorites, but anything can happen, and that's what the world wants to know, that are we going to see any upset, or at least of course these youngsters who are not the favorites, but they can prove to be the dark horses, and that is exactly what the chess world is waiting for. Now remember, these are best of 5 set semifinals, and the final thereafter will be of best of 7 sets. In the history of online chess, we haven't seen this before, so a lot of excitement, a lot of good chess is expected. And let's start with what really happened on day 1 of the semifinals. Well, the start to the semifinals was something that thrilled probably everyone, because what we saw here was Magnus Carlsen, the favorite, Hikaru Nakamura, another favorite, both end up losing their opening games. Now, this didn't come as a huge surprise because a lot of people do feel that in the shorter time formats, one mistake and there are very few opportunities for you to make a comeback. Like Daniel Dubov showed it to Nakamura that look, you make a mistake and I'll come very hard at you. And that is what happened in the first game. And alongside, we had Ding Liren trying to just prove that little bit of edge that he had. He just proved it that that was enough for him to beat Magnus Carlsen. So this is how things happened. But eventually, it was Hikaru Nakamura who bounced back from this opening game defeat to win against Daniel Dubov in 6. And Ding Liren held on. He never trailed, but he held on to win the match in the decider, which is the Armageddon game, where Magnus Carlsen was considered a firm favorite. And eventually, you had the winners, Ding Liren and Hikaru Nakamura. Ding Liren was considered a tough opponent for Magnus Carlsen because twice he had beaten him in the shortest format of the game. Now, this is where Magnus Carlsen also showed a lot of respect for Ding Liren's ability, and he said that, look, my match is against Ding Liren, so I can't take him lightly. Even when he won the last tournament, he had 4 more days to prepare for this match. And when asked how was he going to relax after winning the Legends of Chess, and Magnus Carlsen said, well, the best way to relax is to prepare against Ding Liren. So it gave an idea of what he really thought about this match. And Ding Liren proved that, look, he still has the game to beat an in-form Magnus Carlsen. So what really happened in this game? Well, let's take a look at the first game. Magnus Carlsen starts off well, makes an early mistake. Now, this is where it doesn't appear to be a very decisive kind of a mistake, but then Magnus Carlsen is Magnus Carlsen. He understands that, yes, he has erred. Ding Liren sees this as an opportunity, goes on and just manages to win a prolonged game. Because why I'm saying that this was a prolonged sort of battle, because Magnus Carlsen kept trying his tricks to mislead Ding Liren or to take him off track, but the Chinese was really focused and he finally took the lead. And then, of course, Magnus Carlsen was expected to come back hard at Ding, and that's exactly what happened. He won the second to make it 1-1. And in the third, of course, a lot of drama happened. The first scene of this drama happened during the third game after move number 26, where Ding Liren made his move from the white side, and then we saw that Carlsen had run out of time, and the software or the server declared him as lost on time. But what really happened was, which was later revealed by Ding, that the arbiter called him and told him that after he made move number 26, it didn't quite get registered on Magnus Carlsen's computer. Now, this was a fault of the server, so the game was halted, the snag was fixed, and then the game was resumed. And on resumption, Ding Liren got into a fantastic position, should have won this game, but towards the end, he missed a win when Magnus Carlsen kind of tricked him by offering him a piece. Well, remember that it was already that Magnus Carlsen had tried to hoodwink Ding Liren during the game, but towards the end, when it was a seemingly lost cause for him, he tricked him one last time, offered him a rook, which Ding Liren took it, and the moment he took it, the next few moves that followed were perpetual checks, and the game had to end in a draw. So Ding Liren thought that, okay, he had moved into a position from where he should have won it, but then Magnus Carlsen just about managed to escape and kept the scores level. Now, game 4, this was quite clear that Magnus Carlsen, realizing that he had just had a narrow escape, just played that game at a brisk pace, and Ding Liren matched that speed. Both players started with 15 minutes each on the clock, but ended up with more, and the game ended in quick time. Although they played 39 moves, but there was nothing in the game. The players were left with kings and pawns in the end, and that game really didn't show that either players were interested to have a decision in that game. So it was 2-2 after 4 rapid games, and then Magnus Carlsen became a firmer favorite so to say, because he's supposed to be much better in the blitz format, which is 5 minutes and 3 second increment. Now, this is where the drama unfolded for a second time, with a difference this time. Magnus Carlsen, playing as he usually does at a certain speed, somehow fell back on the clock. Because Ding Liren just wouldn't let him breathe easy. He kept the position in balance, and just when the position was a little unequal, in the sense Magnus Carlsen still looked a shade better, but Ding Liren was improving his position. Magnus Carlsen lost on time. Now, this doesn't happen often. I mean, this is something which actually left everybody aghast. They said there must be some disconnection from Magnus Carlsen's side, but it wasn't. He was declared lost on time. Now, this is where a lot of debate also started on the social media, saying that what's wrong with Magnus? How could he lose on time? But Magnus Carlsen, or for that matter, any player, when he moves from the rapid format to the blitz format, needs to make certain adjustments of time. Because remember, rapid allows you a 10-second increment after every move. Blitz offers you only 3-second increments. For that to make that mental adjustment, because you're not staring at the time all the time, so you need to make that adjustment by default. And somehow Magnus Carlsen erred and lost that match on time. Now, thereafter, the players were left to fight it out in the next game, and that is where Magnus Carlsen had to do something different. He just had to come back, and he did come back. He did win the next game beautifully, and made it 3-3. And then, of course, came the decider clash. That is the Armageddon game, where white has 5 minutes, black has 4 minutes, and in case of a draw, black is declared the winner. So surprisingly, Magnus Carlsen chose white. And once he chose white, it meant that he was quite clear that with that 1 minute advantage to start with, he would choose a position which is more dynamic, because of being white, he has this slight advantage of trying to get a position of his choice and not to get into passive positions. But give credit to Ding Liren. He had 4 minutes on the clock. He played almost flawlessly against Magnus. He just kept the position in balance, never gave away anything, and finally won. If he had tried harder, he could have even won. But then he was happy with the draw. And this was an execution from Ding, which showed that he was so very well prepared, knowing that in the Armageddon, Carlsen began as a firm favorite because of his ability to play moves, and as Peter Lecco, one of the players who played in the previous tournament, also said that Carlsen has the ability to make up to 5 to 6 moves in a second. Now, that's the kind of respect he has earned over a period of time. But what Ding Liren could achieve was he could actually match Carlsen's arsenal, and he came out stronger. So this was the upset of the day. 3 unusual occurrences in a day, and Ding Liren was a worthy winner of the day, because remember, he never trailed throughout the game, throughout this first set, and came out with his head held high. Hikaru Nakamura and Daniel Dubov, well, these two players are known to be pretty aggressive, pretty flamboyant in their style, and there was never a dull moment in this particular match. And what really happened was, in the first game, it was Hikaru Nakamura who somehow lost that focus for a second. Now, in that particular line of opening, there is a preferred line where a central pawn is captured by the queen. But for some strange reason, Nakamura chose to take it with the knight. So the whole structure was such that Daniel Dubov probably didn't expect to get things so easy. That was on move number 10. And within the next 7 moves, that game was over, because what followed was Daniel Dubov's fierce kingside attack, and Nakamura had no resources to stop it. So he resigned in just 17 minutes of play, just after 17 moves. So this is probably the shortest game that we have seen, a decisive game where a person resigned because his position was lost. So That was 1-0 for Daniel Dubov. But then Nakamura, everybody knows that he has this tremendous ability to come back. But did he make it with a vengeance, or did he come very hard at Dubov? Well, no, he didn't. What really happened was, even in the second game, Dubov reached a position where he should have won. He was overwhelmingly superior in that position, but he made one mistake and allowed Hikaru Nakamura to come back. It's like in the space of just the last two moves, Dubov, from a winning position, had to resign. Now, that is what really happened. He just made one dubious move by moving his king to the 7th rank, and then suddenly the attack came, and he realized that he would have got checkmated in just one move. So it became 1-1, and Nakamura was back. And now, riding on this particular confidence, he won the next game, made it 2-1. Now, in the fourth game, Daniel Dubov was facing a must-win situation. Now, in chess, and at that level at which they're playing, winning on demand is probably one of the most difficult things to accomplish, and Dubov did exactly that. He won from the black side by playing some excellent chess. He kept his chances alive by keeping the position open. He didn't lock the position and give rise to opportunities of a draw. He won that game, but then thereafter it was again Daniel Dubov just couldn't reproduce this magic again, but he did well to bounce back to make it 2-2. But in the blitz, it was Nakamura, who was, of course, as I said, he's a top-ranked player in the world. His ranking in the blitz format is number 1, and he proved superior. And then he drew one, he won one, and that was it. And that is how he closed out the game. And by that time, it was quite clear that Nakamura was going to win, because his confidence was very high. His errors had diminished, and Daniel Dubov was still trying to make things happen. And Nakamura just about knew what needed to be done, and he did exactly that. So a lot of decisive games. Well, 4 out of 4 in the game involving Nakamura and Daniel Dubov. 2 out of 4 in the semifinals that featured Magnus and Ding. So 6 out of 8 rapid games had decisions. And then also in the blitz, we had decisive games, and the lone Armageddon game saw a draw, which gave the set to Ding. So plenty of excitement, a lot of drama, and that is exactly what was expected. Well, the drama surrounding the glitch or the technical problem or the technical snag that we saw, that wasn't expected, of course, but drama all the same. And eventually it was Ding Liren who took the lead, and Hikaru Nakamura bounced back. So expect a lot more of action in the coming days. I'll be back with more tomorrow. Thank you for watching.